Augle. Steve Rush Augle. You must be even stupider than I thought you were. Sticking that beak into business that's not yours. Just like that night you called into the news guy show and stuck that Jewish-looking beak into business that wasn't yours after we made fun of David F. You know David F., the guy whose co-hosting gig you stole. That David F., that 500-pound Asperger syndrome guy. That guy that you shoved the knife in his back, that guy. Who are you to come in white knight for David F. that night? Who are you to white knight for anybody? Is that your title, Steve the White Knight Augle? I mean, you just entered yourself into something you're going to wind up cowering from. You're Debbie's bitch, therefore you're just a bitch. Now, let's get down to some rebuttal since you decided to include my name in your little podcast. I didn't know I was that important to you, but let's see what we have. We have here Steve Augle, a name that was never heard until Debbie booted David F. I listened to Debbie for about 6 months, Steve. I never heard you guessed. I never heard your name mentioned. You're just an afterthought to Debbie. Keep that in mind, buddy. Steve Augle, he respects women. He respects women so much that he has 2 divorces behind him. You must have shown a lot of respect to those women that you got divorced from, Steve. Although different than yours, is still a sleepy delivery. You know, you mentioned talk about my use of Xanax and Klonopin. I don't really need to use those when I listen to you, because you're so damn boring and without personality, void of personality. And she will have her way with you when you no longer serve she who shall not be named purposes. You'll be discarded. You weren't mentioned for the 6 months prior to your coming back, and once she's done with you, you won't be mentioned again. Now, you know, Steve, you talk about your 5,000 Facebook friends. It's the second time I've heard you mention it. I want it to be known that the night Steve Augle called News Guy's show to defend an imitation or a bit we did and decided to white knight for David F. Apparently he doesn't sexually discriminate against who he white knights on. After that, we kind of made up, even though I just made up just to get this fruit off of my back. He sent my wife, Jeannie, and I Facebook friend requests. I would never in a million years have sent this guy a Facebook friend request. This guy came off as a total asshole on the News Guys show, a total drip, and he stuck that beak where it shouldn't have been. So why would I send him a friend request? Why would my wife have sent him a friend request? Why does my wife want to see his chick pics? Mr. Good Taste, your chick pics aren't in good taste. Anyone with basic photography knowledge could be doing what you're doing. And on top of that, since you attacked my wife, I have and can keep a woman. Can you say the same thing, Steve? Is there anyone except she who shall not be named going to be coming to your defense? No. And I've kept my wife as my wife and my best friend and my lover for more years than your 2 marriages probably lasted combined. So that's the start of the beginning of the ripping apart of the great Steve Rush Augle. Now, you know, you hear rumors on the internet, and I've heard Steve Augle has not only once, but maybe more than once, taken deposits on pictures, not come through, not given a refund on his pictures, taken off with the deposit, basically. It doesn't surprise me, because a smarmy acting guy like this sounds like he'd be a sleazy business person. Let's just go down here. This guy's obviously an aging twink lover. He's been denuded. As my good friend, the news guy, calls this guy, what is he, brown-nosing eunuch. He's an aging twink lover. I'm sure he uses photography in some way to lure young boys so that he can get off, since there's nobody helping him get off, since he's gone through 2 wives from being such a great guy. Steve Augle, another idiot who claims to know radio, and he's been in this for 5 to 6 years, yet he doesn't realize what a radio stunt is. Apparently you weren't called in on the joke, Steve, because we don't call people who are idiots to fill them in on things. But I wasn't on any Xanax, Klonopin, whatever you want to say the other night, which apparently you were listening since you know about it, so you must have a real big hard-on for the News Guys show. But that was a radio stunt. I came on there pretending to slur my words, pretending to be on Xanax, adding other drugs I could come up with names up off the top of my head. Have I ever done a show pilled out? Sure I have. Was I the other night? No, Steve. With the amount of Xanax I said I took, I wouldn't have made it through the interview. And I was up all night chatting to my real friends on Facebook. And let's get this straight one more time. Steve Augle Rush sent me and my wife Facebook friend requests. We have nothing to do with him. We don't know him. I certainly never accepted the request. My wife may have accepted or did accept the request, but once she saw this great man who loves all women, who denigrates them and puts up pictures of them that are where they're scantily clad, my wife said, "What's this? This guy's a sicko," and she got rid of him. She got him off his page. So yeah, you might have 5,000 followers, but how many of them do you solicit? Do you just send out a mass request for followers, Steve Augle? Because I certainly didn't ask to get an invite to your Facebook page. It's boring. It's fucking boring. And you know what? I'm glad that I did that David F. impression in such bad taste. Since it made you all mad, since it made you all butthurt and got you to fall into our web of trollery and trickery, I'm glad that I did that impression. I hope it got you mad. I hope it made you feel like I was the lowest form of scum on the earth, because if it did that, then it was all worth it. I apologize to David for it. It wasn't in bad taste. But for your, in order to satisfy you, I take that back. I had a ball doing that thing, and I would do it again, and maybe David F. will be calling News Guys show over the weekend, and you can call in and get a little hissy fit then too, you bitch. And it's so obvious from even a casual observer like myself, and I am a casual observer because I don't spend too much time listening to you shove your nose up of she who shall not be named's ass every night. Except when you're out cruising the gay bars picking up young boys. Those are the nights you're not there. It's so obvious from even a casual observer that Debbie's listener numbers are declining because you're so boring and she has no more listeners and nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about but drama, nothing but a yes man in you. You bring nothing to the show except Z's. You bring the Z's, baby. Put them to sleep, Steve. That's what you do. Now, I diagnosed she who shall not be named as having narcissistic personality disorder, and that's a right-on. I mean, I don't have to have any psychology classes, although I do. Did you go to college, Steve? Just wondering. I kind of, photography school isn't college. But anyway, I diagnosed her with that narcissistic personality disorder. You apparently have battered person syndrome or battered man syndrome. You are so subservient to women because of the bad treatment you received from your 2 wives that you couldn't hang on to, that women have you under their thumb, between a rock and a hard place. This woman, Debbie, coos and flashes her fake eyelids at you, and you just melt all over, just like, oh, Debbie this, Debbie that, because you're seeking approval from a woman. You can't keep a woman. Women get sick of your dry, boring personality after a while. And I hope both women, both ex-wives, got themselves a real man to give it to them instead of some wishy-washy punk like yourself. As to the comment my wife made about the leather jacket, Steve, do you realize when you were arguing with me, when you were white knighting David F., coming to his rescue, that you told me that you make a lot of money and you have a lot of leather jackets? Do you realize that you said that? Do we need to drag that back up to tell you what your idea of making a lot of money is I have a lot of leather jackets? Well, I have a leather jacket too, but I don't go around telling people about it and using it as a status symbol. So she had every right to goof on you about the leather jacket. And your hair does look like something out of 1980. I try to do things with my hair. I might not, I don't have Vidal Sassoon or whoever's styling my hair, but at least I try to do something with it. And if I was going to have a publicity picture, I certainly wouldn't be wearing some 1980s leather jacket with a bad haircut and think I'm all that. So that's where the leather jacket comment comes from. You're so rich and you're so cool that you have many leather jackets, and we laugh at you, Steve. We laugh at you. Now, if you don't have battered man or battered person syndrome, you must be into scatology. And I probably have to explain that to you because you're not the brightest bulb around. But scatology is someone who's into shit. And I'm guessing you must like having bitches shit on you. That's the only reason I could think. You've had 2 wives shit on you. Apparently it's not because you left them for someone else, because you got nobody. When do you even get your kids? Once every 2 weeks? I mean, come on, man. You're a loser. You're a loser who's into scatology and likes having bitches shit on them. It's either that or you got battered man syndrome, and you're letting this person with narcissistic personality disorder convince you that she's something you're not. There's a reason 97 out of 100 listeners turn on She Who Shall Not Be Named. There's a reason why 97 of her listeners turn against She Who Shall Not Be Named, Steve. You're 3 out of 100. That's a bad percentage to be in because you're being played. You're a guy. I'd like to save you, but you don't deserve saving from this man-eating, horrible, horrible person who is living with narcissistic personality disorder. Now, I don't know how narcissistic personality disorder and battered man syndrome work out, but she's going to stick the knife in your back, buddy. And remember, it was P. Dempsky, one and the news guy, who told you so. And I hope you add to that collection of leather jackets you got there. But the leather jacket doesn't make the man. The man makes the man, and you ain't no man, pal. And don't ever send me a Facebook request again. And as far as your earlier podcast you made today, you have been caught in so many lies that if it's $1,000 per lie to News Guy, you owe him at least $10,000. And he, being a record keeper of this shit, can pull every single one of your lies up, and the $100 bills or the $1,000 will just add up and add up. Because you're a liar, you're a brown noser, you're a no-talent photographer, I'm sure your drumming is no better. And once again, Rush sucks. Progressive rock died in about 1983, and Neil Peart is perhaps the second best drummer in rock and roll history, but he'll never be John Bonham, and my loyalty lies with Led Zeppelin forever and News Guy for life. So you go back, get on that tit that doesn't give milk anymore, get on that box that doesn't have periods anymore, that grandma that's in her 50s who denies being a grandma. I mean, Steve, the woman denied she was a grandmother. She's a grandmother. What kind of person are you dealing with? What kind of person are you aligning yourself with? 97 out of 100 people who come in contact with this woman wind up hating her or being turned off by her. Wake up, Steve. I don't really care what happens to you.